vision. Yes, in chapter one of defining business needs, we looked at business needs and what they are. And I gave you so many examples of business needs. And we say business need is not just about goods and services. It may even include um, relationships like partnerships. It may include even intellectual property and even some systems and processes that the organization needs to move to the next level. It may even include knowledge, amongst others. I mentioned so many. But goods and services are also part. Even skills and capabilities are also part of it. Then we looked at uh, the types of purchases: straight rebuy, modified rebuy, and new purchase. Straight rebuy deals with existing products. Okay, when you already have an existing contract with a supplier, all you do is just to place a call against perhaps a call of agreement or a framework agreement. There's something you always buy. So you don't need to go through the whole process or procurement process. Okay, you just have to call them and place your orders and you deliver them. You know, modified rebuy is when you change either the specification of the product or even service, and also change terms and conditions in the contract. It could even be pricing terms, could be payment terms. Whenever the terms in the contract change, it is considered as modified rebuy. Even if you ask the supplier to reduce the price and the price changes, are made to the documents, relevant documents or contract documents, it is still modified rebuy. If you change the supplier you are dealing with from an existing supplier to a new supplier, it is also modified rebuy. So modified rebuy encompasses all these changes that I've mentioned. Then, you know, not forgetting the specification itself. The specification itself, when you change it, is also modified rebuy. And we looked at that one also, and also new purchases. Yes, new purchase is something that you haven't bought before. So when we talk about new purchase, we are looking at a procurement situation where the item we are buying is new, entirely new, and may require us going through the entire procurement cycle, doing supply market analysis, evaluating suppliers, pre-qualifying suppliers, and evaluating their bids and awarding contracts, you know, doing contract management, supply relationship management, and all that. These are all for new purchases. Then we also looked at um, factors to consider when we are defining business needs. When we are defining business needs, we need to look at regulatory bodies, whether the business need or the business requirement complies with relevant laws or regulations, because we cannot specify an item that is illegal. Then availability, we want to know whether a lot of suppliers, exist for the business need or for the requirement. Then even we look at the quality, consider quality issues, we look at service requirements, services that comes with the product. Then even the cost, we also have to consider cost when we are defining business needs and innovation. So that's the RAXI model. RAXI model is very important to note. is very, very important when defining business needs. Regulation, availability, quality, service requirements, cost, and innovation are all necessary. So please take note. The RAXI model is very necessary. Then we also looked at um, identifying opportunity or a problem because I mentioned that business needs or business requirements aims at solving a problem or making good use of an opportunity. Okay, so if you think going into partnership is a wonderful opportunity to enhance quality, to enhance your speed to the market, then that is it. If you think acquiring another organization or a supplying organization will help you solve a lot of supply chain issues, then by acquiring it, you are solving a particular problem, you know, amongst others. And we looked at closed problems and open-ended problems, and mentioned that closed problems are those that happen uh, that are not supposed to happen. So you are supposed to get to work at 8, but you get to work at 9. You know, it's not supposed to be so. That's why they now have the clock in, clock out. It's a control system. It can check closed-ended problems. The supplier is supposed to deliver goods on time, but he delivers late. You can treat that. There can be greater damages for that, for late delivery. It's a closed-ended problem. Then open-ended problem, is any problem that stops a firm from achieving its objective, and it could be external or internal. Yes. Um, and for open-ended problems, we use research-based approaches to solve them. And I recommended that Kepner Trigos methodology of solving problems be used. Look at that. What is the problem? What is not the problem? What is distinctive about the problem? Where is the problem? Where isn't the problem? Who or what does the problem involve? These are all questions that must be asked or answered when trying to solve a particular problem. Then we also looked at preparing a business case. And I mentioned that business case is a justification for a business need. So you want to go into partnership. Why do you want to go into partnership? Or why do you want the organization to go into a partnership relationship? It's because of the benefits we will get from going into partnership. So you present a justification to top management on why you think partnership is the way to go. So business case is a justification for a business need. With this case, is a partnership relationship. I'm using partnership because we are all doing supply relationship, and you will understand it better that way. Now, the content of a business case is also very important. You need to know the content of a business case, what goes into a business case. The executive summary, long-term strategic considerations, business requirements. You can use an acronym for this: market analysis, price and cost analysis, because those who will be reviewing the business case will be interested in all that. Supply analysis, technical development, vulnerability analysis, which deals with risk, your sourcing objective, and even how you are going to implement it and competitive advantage. That is what you have. But there is also a work plan. If you see a work plan, it's the same as implementation plan. If you see financial plan in exams, you can bring all these things. That's why I'm mentioning that. So the one we are not limiting ourselves to only the ones in the book because I know we know CIPS so well. We have a financial plan. Financial plan is also very important. How money will be generated to fund that project or that business need. It's very necessary. You have the work plan also. Then if you look at cost and benefit analysis, very, very also critical. And also risk management, like vulnerability assessment. That is risk. Okay. So top management before they will assess it would also consider, the return on investment. What are they going to get from investing in the business need? And will it enhance their time to the market? The early bird catches the most well. If we are able to get to the market first, we can sell our products first and get the money from our customers first before our competitors do. Will that enhance, will the business need enhance customer satisfaction, amongst others? So top management would want to know how your business is solves a peculiar problem or identifies a unique opportunity from which the organization may even be catapulted into $1 billion status. Okay, so it's very important. And mention that writing a business case requires credibility. The business case must be credible and it must appeal to the rational side of the brain rather than the emotional side. Because top management will only approve a business case when it makes sense. Then the business case should also tell a story. It should tell a story. It should be very compelling. Then in learning outcome 1.2, we looked at how cost and price can be estimated for procurement activities. So we looked at market research because if you want to understand cost and price, you need to gather information. You need to do either a field research or a desk research, and desk research is, secondary information or using the internet to acquire information. Then field research is primary data. Getting information right from the source, and it can either be quantitative or qualitative. We could also even request for information from our suppliers. Yes, the request for information is also very necessary. It means you want to know the supplier very well, what they do or what he does, and the supplier's financial capability, environmental performance, amongst others. And we can acquire all this information by giving them a pre-qualification questionnaire. You can get all this information from them. Okay, then we also looked at direct and indirect costs. We mentioned that the direct cost is any cost that is associated with a saleable unit of output. Yeah, so when you take your food, the parts of your phone, the components in the phone, what you see, they constitute the direct cost for the manufacturer of that phone. Yes, they are all part of the direct cost for the manufacturer. Then we can look at even the package, the box in which the phone was when you bought it. It was also part of the product. Yes. So it's also direct cost for the organization. Then we can also look at indirect cost. Indirect cost is cost that cannot be traced directly to the phone. So it could be lighting and heating. It could be administrative cost or expenses. Water that was used by the workers who worked on the product. amongst others. Even advertisement. These are all costs that cannot be traced to uh, a sellable unit of output. We can't find them in the product. They are intangible. Okay, in level, I think in L4M8, we'll look at products that are, direct and indirect, and that are tangible and intangible. We'll look at all that. Then we also looked at fixed cost and variable cost. We learned that fixed cost is cost that doesn't change with the level of output. It is fixed, like rent. If you pay rent, that's whether you stay in the room or not, you've already paid. Pay for a whole year, you're not in the room. Your landlord doesn't care. Does I care? I doesn't care. So your landlord will still charge you. You can't say you didn't stay in the room. So he won't count it. No. Rent. If you rent an office and you don't use it, that's your own problem. It is fixed cost. Whether you use the office to generate more money or less, you will still rent is fixed. And fixed salary. There are some people who whose salaries are not based on their level of output, whether they produce more or less, they take the same amount every month. That is also fixed cost for the organization. It will be variable cost if it is based on the level of output. So you produce more, you get more money, you are paid more. If you produce less, you get less money. That would have fall under, or fallen under variable cost. So variable cost is cost that changes with the level of output. We looked at that. But we also looked at semi-variable cost. Semi-variable cost. And semi-variable cost has an element of fixed cost and variable cost. And I mentioned that we usually use the low-high method to distinguish between or to separate the fixed cost element from the variable cost element. Okay, but we won't do that here. We also looked at break-even analysis. Break-even analysis. We want to understand cost and prices. Break-even analysis will help us to know whether the supplier has been able to cover his cost of production. And the amount the supplier needs to, produce, the quantity of goods that the supplier needs to produce in order to break even. Breaking even or break even is the point where the supplier makes neither profit nor loss. It means that the supplier's income is equal to his cost of, yes, it's equal to his cost. What he's getting from the sale is equal to his cost of production. It means he has broken it. So we learned that the formula for finding break-even is fixed cost over variable cost minus selling price. Okay, so fixed cost over, selling price minus variable cost. So that was the formula. And selling price minus variable cost is called marginal profit. Marginal profit. Selling price minus variable cost is called marginal profit or contribution. If you don't see marginal profit, you may see contribution. So kindly take note. Okay. And we also looked at purchase cost analysis. And on a purchase cost analysis, we looked at, a diagram, the PC, purchase cost analysis diagram that mimics that of the supply position metrics, or the portfolio metrics, the leverage, strategic, critical projects, low impact. And low impact here is just like routine items and even the type of relationship that would be required for each category of purchase. Then we also look at an extension of the diagram, um, and we learned that you know business needs with strategic focus or products that require strategic focus need open book costing. You need to do open book costing, target cost analysis, total cost of ownership, total cost modeling. Now you have all done supply relationship. So when I talk about total cost modeling, you understand, you know what it is. Huh. So we would have to do all this for you know projects with strategic focus. So in this case, like strategic items. Then and so I mentioned that with um, open book cost and even total cost model, you need to have a very good relationship with the supplier. And you now know that to go into some kind of partnership with the supplier must first be a strategic supplier, a strategic supplier. If you have a very good relationship with the supplier will be willing to give you information. Hence the open book cost and even total cost modeling. Hmm. That won't work under leverage, you know. Uh, so let's take a look. Then with critical approach focus or like bottleneck, you still need total cost of ownership from you know uh, there. You need life cycle costing and all that. So essentially, the three leverage focus, strategic focus, and critical project focus all require cost analysis. They all require cost analysis. But when we come to low impact focus, dealing with a large number of supplies and what they are even supplying is not of high value to you, then there will be no need for cost analysis. All you need to do is just to compare prices. So you do price analysis when you are dealing with routine supplies. Routine supplies. Uh-huh. So let's take note. And we also looked at the reason why suppliers charge different prices. Yes, a supplier will charge a different price for different customers. And it's because of perhaps the relationship they have with these customers. You may charge me 5,000 Ghana cedis, but you may charge someone else, 7,000. It's because perhaps I am a core customer to you, and the other customer is a nuisance customer or an exploitable customer. So we looked at how the supplier preference matrix, answers this question. And we also looked at target costing. Target costing. And I mentioned that for an organization to ascertain its target cost, it first has to look at the price the market can bear and the profit the organization wants to make. So if the market can bear 5 Ghana cedis and you want to make a profit of 2 cedis, then it means your target cost should be 3 cedis. So that when you add it to your profit, you can get the 5 cedis, which is the price the market can bear. So whatever you need to do to ensure that your cost of producing 1 unit is 3 cedis, it should be 3 cedis or less. You have to do it. And that includes value engineering, value analysis, effective negotiation, low cost country sourcing, global sourcing, substitution, amongst others. These are all not all, but among, a few things that you would have to do to ensure that you achieve your target cost of 3 cedis per unit. And mention that you need to do for quality function deployment. And this quality function deployment requires the solicitation of information from your customers. You want to know what your customers really want, not what you think they want, but what they actually want, so that you can convert their requirements into, you know, specific design specifications. So nothing goes into the product that customers don't want, or that is what you think customers want. Okay, it is just cost and does not add value. You think it is necessary, but the customer doesn't see it to be necessary. So if you include it, you are only wasting money or only increasing your cost. And that will prevent you from achieving a target cost of 3 zeros. So why not ask the customer what they want and do exactly what they want for them, instead of you doing what you think they want, which may not necessarily be exactly what they want. Then we also look at price analysis. Price analysis. Yes, price analysis, like I mentioned, is for low focus projects, you know, routine supplies. And we can carry out price analysis by looking at past, you know, prices that we paid. So if you've been buying this item for a while now, and you know the price, you know. So if you want to ascertain the price of a particular item, you can even go into your own database and get some information. Then even publish prices. Yes, publish prices, price, you know, index or indices, you know, the commodity price index, market price index, among others. They all give you information about price. And we can also use pricing formula in contract price adjustment formula that may reflect the prevailing market price. Then we also looked at total cost of ownership. And I mentioned that everything that goes into it is meant to ensure that your total cost is reduced. So total cost of ownership is all the costs that you incur throughout the useful life of whatever you buy. So the phone that we've been using, the credit that we've been buying, is a maintenance. You let me just forget the credit. Maintenance. If the screen breaks, you have to get a new one. Getting a new screen, is it so expensive? If it takes you 500 Ghana or 1,000 Ghana to get a new screen for a phone, that costs maybe 1,002 Ghana or 1,200. Then I don't think you have to buy that phone. So when you start thinking this way, you are thinking total cost. Because you can buy a phone 1,002 and the screen alone is 1,000 if you break the screen, or even 700 or 800. You won't want to buy such a phone. So you are considering all the costs that you would incur throughout the life or useful life of the phone or the asset. We looked at that, and we looked at the difference between total cost of ownership and whole life costing. Whole life costing. Now, whole life costing is the technique we apply to, understanding the cost associated with the item we are buying or the business requirements we are acquiring. Yes, so when you do apply whole life cycle costing technique, you are doing total cost of ownership. Yes, the process is whole life cost or whole life cycle costing. And it requires some planning. It requires some planning, some preparation. It requires implementation. Let's take it, and we need a team to do that. In fact, when we talk about whole life costing, some school of thought do not separate the two. Whole life costing, total cost of ownership, they are the same. In most contexts, they are the same. But here, are telling us that whole life costing is a technique for understanding all the costs involved in acquiring the item and even the cost you would also incur throughout the useful life of the asset, right from acquisition to disposal. The process or the technique you apply to understand all these costs is called whole life cycle costing. But in most cases, they are the same. All right. Then in landmark 1.3, we looked at the criteria applied to uh, developing a business case. And to mention that before you develop a business case, you need to understand the strategic impact of the business case. You need to understand the problem you want to solve. Looking at the your internal factors and your external factors. So it could be an opportunity you have identified externally. So environmental scanning, understanding the economic, the political, the technological, the socio-cultural, the ethical impact of um, you know what you are doing, or how these factors that I just mentioned impact on your organization, and how you can identify opportunities in the external environment. So whatever opportunity you identify is basically in the external environment. You want to outwit a competitor, you want to take advantage of a particular technology, you want to do A, B, and C. So you need to understand what is happening in the macro environment and how you can take advantage of it. You also need to look at your internal environment, what is going on within the internal environment, and how that also contributes to your problem solving. Then we also looked at options. Options. Now, having done all this, you need to develop options. And we looked at so many options: market intervention, technical intervention, cross structure, or cost structure interventions. There are so many strategies that you would want to deploy in order to solve a problem or identify an opportunity. We also look at supply relationship intervention and supply chain intervention. These are all options that you generate or you look at when uh, you're, you are developing a business case. So your business case, if your business case is for partnership, then it will fall under the supply relationship intervention, and it must solve a problem. If it is about reducing cost, then you may do value engineering. The value analysis and value engineering that we looked at in the last chapter falls under cost structure intervention. So if the moment you propose value analysis, value engineering, then you are trying to help the organization or proposing to top management that we have to reduce costs in this area. And that is a problem you are solving. And it's also a business need. Okay. Then we looked at how we can use the PUGE analysis to generate hybrid strategies. We looked at cost and benefit analysis and even risk assessment and how we can implement this. We also looked at benchmarking requirements. Benchmarking, comparing your processes to the best in class, those who are doing so well in the market. You can compare what you are doing to this and identify gaps for improvement. So we looked at the types of benchmarking: internal benchmarking, that is between functional areas, so among functional areas within the same organization, a branch copying another branch, but under the same other company, that is internal benchmarking. Then we also look at competitor benchmarking or competitive benchmarking, you comparing your performance with your competitors. Then functional benchmarking, this one is a particular function in one sector, benchmarking its activities against another function in a different sector. So it could be the manufacturing sector and perhaps the telecommunication sector or the food and beverage sector. Mhm. So let's take Coca-Cola and you know MTN. They are not competitors. So the procurement functions in these two organizations can learn from each other. It's functional benchmarking. Then generic benchmarking. This one does not limit itself to a particular industry. So generic benchmarking, you are learning processes, you are learning systems from everyone, you know. Uh-huh. Then I ask you to also look at the advantages and disadvantages of benchmarking. Yes, they are easily and can easily comprehend them. The issue with benchmarking is that the one you are copying, before you implement what they are doing now, they will have moved on to do other things. So they will always be ahead of you. They will always be ahead of you. And it's a very good concept. Every organization does it. Every organization does it. XOC, yeah, they used to produce this charcoal toothpaste. Yeah, and still in the system. Expel Oral Care, they started with this cleansing charcoal toothpaste. And now, the student has charcoal toothpaste. Colgate now does charcoal toothpaste. There are so many charcoal toothpaste in the system. What did they do? They did benchmarking. They did benchmarking, but even in those toothpaste, they still have some amount of fluoride, which research shows that it's not good for our health. You know. So, but they are all doing charcoal toothpaste. Now everything charcoal. All the toothpaste are now charcoal. They learn from these, you know, expel oral care. What they do is that they just take the product, they check the content, the ingredients, and then see how best they can do it. And that's all. So everyone is doing benchmarking. It's good. And that will it will benefit us because if we have a lot of alternative charcoal toothpaste in the market, the prices will be low and everyone can afford. It's just that the quality. If it is the same, then that's fine. Then in learning outcome 1.4, we looked at budget. We looked at the budget and gave you a definition of a budget. Yes, that is a plan that is prepared and approved prior to a defined period, you know, which usually shows estimated expenditure to be incurred and revenue to be generated, and the capital required to achieve that objective. So that's the definition. It's a plan which is prepared ahead of time and it usually shows estimated expenditure and revenue to be generated and also the capital to be employed. These three things. So let's take a look. We looked at the purpose of budget, financial budget, and we mentioned that it's a planning tool. It helps you plan. If you have a budget and you go to the market, you it guides you on what to buy so that you don't exceed your budget. Then it's also a control tool. Yes, if there is no budget, organizations will just be spending. But a budget keeps them under check. If you are given a budget, you are able to work within the budget. And it also supports decision making. Uh, it's even so it supports decision making in the sense that if you have a budget and you are making decisions, or maybe let's say generating specifications, the reason you have a finance officer or a finance person in the team is that they are going to tell you whether the organization has that money or not. We don't have that money. And even this year, looking at the budget, if we go this way, we won't be able to make any savings. So whatever decision, if we are going for customized products, let's go for standardized products. Because if we go for customized products, we will, we will just blow the budget. The budget will may not even be enough. So why don't we go for a standardized product? So budget guides decision making, and it's also a motivational tool. Yes, there are some companies, they will tell you that if you are able to make 5% savings on the budget, you will be given some bonuses and all that. Yes, and it motivates you to save some cost for the organization. Then we looked at, yes, the type of budget. One is incremental budget. We said that incremental budget is budget based on previous years, budget. Yes, previous year's budget. So last year's budget, we take it and edit it, and we change the figures to reflect 2022. Then we also have rolling budget, a rolling budget, and a rolling budget could be a 3 month rolling budget or a 1 year rolling budget, and it's meant to ensure that the organization always has a budget for a fixed period. So if it's a 3 month rolling budget, once we exhaust the budget for the first month, we need to prepare another month's budget so that at every point in time we have 3 months budget running. So January, February, March, we prepare the budget for the 3 month budget. Once January's budget, or before January's budget, or January even ends, April's budget should be ready, even before January budget ends or January ends. Okay, so once we exhaust January, February and April's budget will be ready, and we will always have a 3 month budget rolling. Then we also have looked at zero-based budget. And zero-based budget is budget that starts from the scratch. It is not based on previous year's budget entirely. It's not entirely based. That doesn't mean we don't consider previous year's budget. You may consider a few things, but it's not like incremental budget that borrows almost everything that is in last year's budget and only reduce the price. No, zero-based budget is started on a clean sheet, and it helps you eliminate a lot of waste. Every element or item that goes into the budget must be justified. The problem is that it's time consuming. It's time consuming. Okay. Then we also looked at, and so we've looked at incremental budget, zero-based budget, rolling budget, and budget can also be fixed budget. That one it doesn't change, and it's usually used in environments that are predictable or that have predictable sales volume. We know that every year we sell 20,000 units, at most 20,000, at least 19,000. So when we are planning, it's fixed 20,000, and that is exactly what we do. And I mentioned that a budget, an incremental budget, can be fixed, can be variable, can be fixed or flexible. A zero-based budget can also be fixed or flexible. A rolling budget can be fixed or flexible. It depends on the organization. Okay, and we'll also look at variance. Variance. Yes. variance. And variance is the difference between budgeted cost and the actual cost. So you budgeted 50 Ghana cedis for a bag. When you went to the market, you were able to get it for 40 cedis. You've saved 10 cedis, and 10 cedis is a positive variance. But if you had bought it for 60 cedis, then that would have been negative variance or an unfavorable variance because you have incurred a cost of an additional cost of 10 cedis. So that's the variance. And I gave you an assignment. Yes, and the reason why organizations, budgeted expenditure may be different from their actual expenditure, especially when it is positive, is because of the market condition. Even when the budget, if you don't gather proper information, you may set a high budget for a product because you don't even have information about market prices. So you budget too high. And so if you go to the market and the price is lower than that, you call it a positive variance. Yeah, so that could be one. Your negotiation. If you negotiate effectively, you can make a lot of savings. And that could be the reason why the actual cost is even lower than the budgeted cost. When you also, you can even take advantage of, spot buy. Yes, spot buy. You get to cycle and you see this woman selling a bunch of plantain, yes, for 20 cedis or 10 cedis, which you would have bought for maybe 30 cedis. You can take advantage of it and just buy it, even though you haven't budgeted for it or planned for it, but it will save you some money. So spot buying could also reduce or could also account for a positive variance. Yes, and substitution. Substitution, yes, could also account for it. When you substitute the raw material or the component with another, it could account for a reduction in your cost. Then we also, in learning outcome 2.1, looked at yes, market segment, because we want to understand, we want to know how our suppliers segment their market so that we can also take advantage of it. And I will send you an information about how these automobile companies segment their customers. They have some class for a specific group of customers. So if you need if you know how these companies segment their customers, you know where you fall or which kind of segment you fall and how you can take advantage of that segment. Very important. So we looked at industry classification. We looked at Porter's generic strategies. If you are a cost leader, if you want to be a cost leader, it means you are so conscious about cost as an organization. So the item you are going to buy, if it's a differentiated item and it's calling for high price or high price or a premium price, you'll have to ask yourself whether it is worth paying for what you need. Yours is cost, so you won't pay for a higher price or a premium price for a differentiated product. That's not what you need. So we need to understand that. But if what you need is a differentiated product and it is worth it, then you have to pay for it. You have to pay for it. So you mentioned that the point of difference, if the point of difference that warrants premium price, then you pay for it because the point of difference is what you want. It's significant to the organization. But if it's not significant, you don't. So we looked at that, and we looked at segment analysis. You know how companies segment their market based on products, based on their buyers, based on channel, and even geography. We looked at all that and mentioned that um, market analysis, you know, is time consuming. It's a time consuming exercise. And so if you want to understand all these, then it should be better. It better be a strategic supplier. Yes, for routine supplies, I don't you don't need all these detailed market analysis. And market analysis is not just a one-time thing. It's something that must be done on continuous basis because uh, the market is so dynamic and it needs to be monitored day in day out. You need to know what is happening. It's all part of market analysis. So if we will do that, then it should be for high important and high risk item. Yes, high risk, high important item or highly important item. And these are strategic items, basically, or maybe bottleneck items to some extent. So we learned about that, and we also in learning outcome 2.2 looked at the competitive forces, five forces, the bargaining power of the buyer, the bargaining power of the supplier, competitive rivalry, potential entrant threats of new entrants and threats of substitutes. These are the, forces. These are the five forces that impact on market. So and we use it to understand the industry, the level of competition in the industry. Okay. Then we looked at in learning outcome 2.3 the difference or a breakdown of direct and indirect costs and the type of data that can be or that can provide information on cost and price. We know how to get information on cost and price. Our company's annual reports, yes, could help us. The suppliers' annual report, if you know their sales information or if you have their sales information, you can just deduct their profit from their sales and we'll know the cost they share. We can also do or gather market data. We can get technical people to help us, acquire cost information. So when you get a technical person, you can tell you that this one should not cost that much. It should not cost this amount. They are technical people and they can better advise amongst others. Yes, we also looked at, yes, I think we are moving to chapter 3. In chapter 3, we looked at specification, yes, and the type of specification. I mentioned two types, conformance specification and performance specification. And under conformance specification, you have drawings or technical drawings. You have sample. We have market grades. We have brand names. We have recipes and chemical formulas. So chemical formula in the pharmaceutical industry, manufacturing industry, recipes when you go to the hospitality industry, the hotels and the restaurants and all that. They use a lot of recipes. And then we also looked at technical drawing or drawings, which is usually used in the engineering sector. Then also samples. Yes, as for samples, they are usually in the manufacturing sector also. Then we can also look at market grades. These phones that we have, I learned there are grades of phones. Even the rice that we chop, there are grades. They are in grades. And even the cooking utensils. I learned cooking utensils also. You are lady, so you are more informed. And there are grades of cooking utensils. So market grade is also an example of conformance specification. And for conformance specification, if what is being supplied does not match any of these examples that I mentioned, if it doesn't match the market rate, if it doesn't match the brand name, if it doesn't match the sample, if it doesn't match the technical drawing, if it doesn't match the recipe or the chemical formula, then you can ignore it. You can reject it, not accept it. Okay, so these are examples of conformance specification. And we mentioned that conformance specification stifles innovation. They are useful. Conformance specification is very useful. It's useful in certain circumstances, but not in all circumstances. It has its own bad side. And one advantage is that it leads to customer satisfaction. If you give me a sample and I'm able to produce the exact sample for you, you are satisfied. That is it. Uh, But when it comes to the risk of performance, you will rather bear the risk because you give me the sample, you give me the brand name, or you give me the spec. Okay. So when I produce it the way you want me to produce it, then you will bear the risk of non-performance because you tell me how I go about it. Conformance specification is highly prescriptive. You prescribe to the supplier how you want the thing to be done. So after doing it or following that prescription, if it doesn't work, can you blame the supplier? No, you gave him that prescription. So you should be ready for the outcome. So the risk of non-performance is usually borne by the buyer or the one giving the prescription, not the supplier. Then we also looked at, you know, output or outcome-based specification that falls under performance specification. Unlike conformance specification where you prescribe what the supplier should do and how you should go about it, even though the supplier may not even understand what you want to do with what you want him to do for you. Performance specification only gives the output parameters or the outcome that must be achieved at the end of the day. And all the technical details are left with the supplier. So you tell the supplier what you want the product to be able to do. That's all. The supplier uses all his innovative capabilities, all his weapons, quote unquote, everything, his ideas, everything that he has to get you a product that can deliver those output parameters for you. So it encourages innovation, it promotes innovation. And procurement professionals better know when to use performance-based specification and when to use conformance-based specification. So we looked at that. And in developing specification, we need to go through a process called brainstorming. We need to ask questions. Who needs this business requirement? We should know that the specification is for our business need. So if we say we need um, partnership, there should be a specification. We should define the type of partnership that we want. You remember, we looked at the three types: type one, type two, type three. Which one do you want? So when we say we are going for type three partnership relationship, it's an example of um, specification. Yes, we are specifying exactly the type of relationship we want. If it is a product, you need to specify specify the type of product you want, and it should be detailed where necessary. How we want it to be done, why we need the requirements, what it should look like, where it's supposed to be delivered, amongst other things. I mentioned that output-based specifications are easier to measure than outcome-based specifications. Outcome-based specification. Yes, output. When you engage a call center, you can give output parameters that in 3 rings, the call center should pick up. If the call center doesn't pick up in 3 rings, it indicates poor performance. That one you can easily measure. But if you go ahead to give an outcome that the call center should ensure that your customers are satisfied, and that one is sometimes difficult, even though customer satisfaction can be measured, and it's also based on, the responsive level of the call center. So if after 3 rings, I pick up and talk to the customer and solve the customer's problem, that's good. But for you to tell me that, or tell a call center that what you need is for customers to be satisfied, even though it can still be measured, it's usually difficult. But if you give the call center output parameters, there shouldn't be any delay in picking up calls and doing A, B, and C and all that. Then those ones are easier to measure. So we learned that output-based parameters or output-based specifications are easier to measure than outcome-based. So most companies go for output-based, which is an example of performance specification. Then we also looked at I hope you are not tired. Hello.
Hello, Christian.
I hope you are not tired.
No, we are
No.
Okay. We'll finish very soon. So that we can start answering the questions. Okay. All right. Then lest I forget, standard is also an example of conformance. When you give a supplier a particular standard, it could be ISO 9001 standard, it could be ISO 14001 standard. It's also conformance. It's not underperformance. It's conformance. Then we looked at statement of work, underperformance. So underperformance-based specification, we have output-based or outcome, and statement of work. And that is also underperformance. So let's take note of these 3. So in developing specification, we need to get information. And we need to get information from the organization. We need to know our budget, whether our budget can fund the specification. We need to know whether it satisfies regulatory requirements. You remember RACSI, it's also part when we are developing our business need or translating defining our business need. Let me put it that way. When we are defining our business need, if you have specified your business need, it's called business need definition. And that is also called specification. We are specifying our business need. So we need the budget. We need to know how much we have. We need to know whether it complies with relevant regulatory standards. We need to know if a lot of suppliers are available for the supply of that item. If you can't specify an item that there's no supplier who can supply, then you've wasted your time. Then you have to make it yourself. If you also lack the competence or the capacity to develop the spec yourself, then you've wasted a lot of time. You need to forget it. So in developing specification, we need to ask these questions, know whether suppliers are available to supply our spec. And we also need to know whether supplier, the item we are specifying is environmentally friendly. Yes, we need to get all this information. Then we also looked at, yes, in learning outcome 3.2, we looked at true life contract, true life contract. And that is the same as total cost of ownership. Yes, true life contract. And it's not for low value purchases. No, true life contracts are not for low value purchases. They are for high value purchases like building. When you are looking at building, building an office or a plant and all that, you consider all the things that comes with it, the design, the manufacture, installation, support that comes with it, the commissioning, disposal, maintenance, training. You need to look at all these things when you are specifying such requirements. Then um, we should also consider testing. Yes, because in your when you are considering total cost of ownership, you need to test. You need to test the item that you want to buy. Sometimes you need to go to the supplier's organization. If the supplier is abroad, it's outside, you have to go there and test the requirement there or the item before it is shipped. Once it gets to your premises, it has to be tested in other books like L4M2, see stress test, and some dry test and all that. And I learned even when you buy these blenders, you test it, the dry test, and then there are also types of tests like stress test. But here we looked at performance-based tests. We look at operational acceptance testing. We look at alpha testing. We look at beta testing. And alpha testing is where the supplier tests the product in its organization. So the employees in the organization test the product, and based on their feedback, the product is improved before it gets to the customer. Beta testing is meant to test the product at the customer's end. So bring the product to you, the customer, test it on your premises. If it doesn't work, then bring it back to our organization and work on it. Then we also look at contract acceptance testing. Does the requirement, what has been supplied, does it match exactly what the contract requires? Then regulation acceptance testing, does it satisfy relevant regulation? Then even operational acceptance testing, does it make so much noise? Is it working? Is it in proper working order? We want to test it. We want to look at whether it emits a lot of carbon and all that. We test it. Then black box testing is usually for software, And it mentioned also that whole life costing could even require a change. Yes, and even not just that, specification in general can be changed. That's why we have modified rebuy. And if someone proposes that the specification or for a particular item be changed, and then that person should give a very good reason for the change. Maybe it's too expensive, or it helps us, or it not helps us per se, but it consumes a lot of fuel. It consumes a lot of energy and all that. So you need to get a more energy efficient, product. There should be justification for the change. It could also be that the price is too high. We need to see the supply, do something about the price. Yeah, so changes can be made to the specification. and even the contract as a whole. And we would require a change management process. And here we are being told that first a change request document must come, then the request document must be reviewed. The change request document is your proposal for the change. It will be reviewed by the team, and options will be also looked at. Why the proposed change and why not other options? Then the final approval is given. Once the approval is given, it means the change has been instituted, it has been accepted, and it's now going to be effective. Okay. Then we also looked at social and environmental criteria. Social and environmental criteria. We need to consider the social impact of what we are specifying. And here we looked at social capital. Social capital is basically your employees' commitment based on how well you treat them. It is not static, it's dynamic. If you treat your employees well, they will always give their best. But if you stop treating them well, they will also reduce what they do, limit what they do. Their commitment will go down, everything will go down. So it's dynamic, it's not static. Okay, so we looked at that and we mentioned that if we are specified, we need to ensure that the specification is um, one that will also allow small medium enterprises to bid. Yes, because by allowing small medium enterprises to bid, you are, you know, having a social impact. You are helping them grow, even if it's a big contract or specification for an expensive requirement. At least there is a portion for small medium enterprises. You can get these suppliers, big suppliers, to subcontract aspects of the work to, these small medium enterprise. At least a certain percentage, about 30% or 20% should go to small medium enterprise. That is part of, the social criteria. Then we can also look at the environmental criteria. And look, not just that. Suppliers who treat their workers well, who pay living wages and all that. When you are developing specifications and you want them to supply the spec, you need to consider those suppliers. They don't use children to produce child labor and all that. We'll look at all these in details later. Then environmental criteria. You want to know if the supplying organization is green. And even when you are developing your specification itself should be an environmentally friendly specification. Should be an environmentally friendly specification. Whether it's for machine or for big ticket capital equipment, you need to look at the fuel consumption. You need to ensure that today they're receiving electric vehicles that use electricity, and that will go a long way to even reduce carbon emission. Okay, now that there is an agenda to achieve what we call carbon neutrality by the year 2050, companies must now start using electric vehicles. And in some jurisdictions, there are special, they call it preferential treatment, yes, for those who use such vehicles, electric vehicles, because they don't produce, it doesn't even have a need to emit carbon into the atmosphere. So just imagine if we have about 1,000 cars in the country that are electric vehicles. Our carbon emission pool will reduce, our contribution to carbon emission will reduce. So that is it. So when you are specifying, yes, you should specify requirements that are environmentally friendly. Then we also looked at natural disaster, waste, and energy efficiency. These are all under environmental considerations. Then we mentioned in learning outcome 3.3 that an organization can either overspecify or underspecify. If you overspecify, it's more cost for the company. When a receptionist says she wants a MacBook, it's over an example of overspecification because all she needs is a simple laptop that can that has Excel or Microsoft Office on it. Simple one. MacBook is an overspecification and unnecessary cost for the organization. And if they also say they need a tablet could be also under specification, or you need a desktop, you need a laptop, you need, yes, I know some tablets are very expensive, but there are the ones there are some 700, 800, and all that. Those ones, I doubt if the receptionist will be able to type on, use it for all that she wants. Yes. So maybe a simple laptop, which is it will be more flexible with the keypads and all that. That will be faster and all that. So under specification is what when you specify below what you need. You don't give details about what you need, or you don't provide as much information about what you need as you ought to. And that can mean reducing costs, but not getting exactly what you want. That is why our specifications must be clear, must be clear and unambiguous. It shouldn't be underspecified, it shouldn't be overspecified. It should be exactly what we need. And then needs when they are not clear, or specifications when they are not clear, can be misinterpreted. And we don't want a situation where our suppliers will misinterpret our need, or our specification. It only leads to customer dissatisfaction because the supplier will end up supplying what they think we need. Meanwhile, that's not what we need. We also look at managing risk for underspecification and overspecification and how we can control this. Yes, and then in outcome 3.4, we looked at, and even before we looked at that, I mentioned also that true life contracts, a specification for true life contracts should be seen as a project, and all the project management tools should be used. It is a whole project. It should be monitored. It should be planned. It should be treated just like a project. So you need a project initiation document. You need to consult relevant stakeholders. You need to monitor by using Gantt charts and all that. These are all tools, project management tools that can be used to manage projects. Then in learning outcome 3.4, we looked at standardization, how to implement standardization. And we looked at process standardization, where we considered job shops. We looked at cellular production or cell production. We looked at flexible manufacturing system. We also looked at dedicated lines and mixed lines. These are all manufacturing processes that can be standardized. An organization may have a mixture of these strategies or processes. Then we also looked at how we can apply this to the service sector. Now, the service sector also standardizes its processes by using lean approaches or lean approach. Yes, the lean is about eliminating waste and enhancing efficiency. Okay, then we also looked at product standardization, yes, we can standardize our products by reducing variety. If we have variety of, you know, products, I'm not talking in the context of enhancing your portfolio, no, but you have a variety of items you keep in stock or in your warehouse. And these are usually due to technical people. You have three technical people today. When they are doing A, they want nails with round head. Another technical person comes, he wants nail with square head. Another person comes, he wants nail with, a triangular head. Or yeah, and these are all nails. So why the variety? It means the ones that we already have, which is round headed, we cannot give it to the next technical person because he is requesting for a square headed nail. And that requires money, an additional money. And that is what increases variety in the stock. So we keep rejecting, even these doctors, some of them, they come with this type of syringe. No, we don't want it anymore. We want this one. Another doctor comes and I want this type of syringe. So you end up keeping variety of syringes. And it blocks the organization's money. Variety. So we can standardize it and say that we are going for this type of syringe. And that is it. All doctors are using the same syringe. And I use even bottled water as an example. Yes, in a service organization, we can also do that. McDonald's, how they dress, KFC, how their workers behave, the culture, everything, they've standardized it. So the treatment you may get from, KFC here in Accra, you may get the same treatment from KFC in South Africa and all that. They can standardize their processes. Then parts standardization. Yes, we can also standardize our parts, and that is where value analysis comes in. And I mentioned that part standardization is meant to reduce cost. When you do value analysis, you want to understand the constituent parts in a product and see how best you can reduce the cost of those parts. And value analysis will help us achieve that. I explained it in our last meeting and we got it. And we know also learned that value analysis is for existing product, not for new product. It's for an existing product. When we seek to reduce the cost of the parts, and we can do that by engaging the customers. By engaging the customers, it's very necessary. Then we also learned about how we can carry out value analysis. We need to gather information about the product, and carry out functional analysis, looking at the primary function of the product and the secondary function of the product. The primary function of a clock is for us to know the time. An alarm is a secondary function. So we should take note of that. Then we have to be creative. Yes. Then after through creativity, you can generate a lot of options and evaluate those options, then develop aspects. Then we also look at value engineering. Value engineering. And value engineering, I remember saying that it's just like value analysis, but that one is for new products. When you are developing a new product, you conduct value analysis on new products. Okay. Let me say it that way. You want to understand the cost component of all the parts in the product that you are now developing. and whether those costs that you are incurring on those parts are necessary or not. You seeking to eliminate those that are not, they are not, that are those that are not necessary is part of value engineering. Okay. And we looked at Kano's method. Yes, Kano suggested, some factors that or some requirements that must be considered when doing value engineering. We need to look at attractive requirements, and I remember saying that an attractive requirement is the same as a requirement with excitement attributes. You're going to a hotel, and this one applies to services as well. So you go to the hotel, and in the hotel, after sleeping there, you are going home, or when the time is due, you are given a free meal or a box of chocolate. You never expected that. It's a surprise, and it excited you. But did you expect that? No. That is an attractive requirement, but it's not what you expect. It's not something that uh, whether or not you have it, your satisfaction will still be at a desirable level. Once you have a hotel that has a bed, an AC, uh, maybe a standard television, and a washroom with hot and cold water flowing through the taps, amongst other things, you are cool. Then we looked at one-dimensional or performance requirements. So these are also called performance attributes. Performance attributes. And performance attributes help you enjoy your stay at the, you know, hotel room better. So yes, when you went, there's a standard television, but this time it's not just standard television. You have DSTV and you have a super fast Wi-Fi. It will enhance your stay in the hotel, and that can boost satisfaction. Uh-huh. So if you have these without without a box of chocolates and a free meal, you are still okay. But mandatory requirement has to do with the basic requirements. What are the basic things that every hotel should have? A bed, an AC, a tap, a standard television. These ones are basic requirements or mandatory requirements. And in your specification, these ones must be there. Then there are also indifferent requirements. And for indifferent requirements, whether or not they are part of it, the customer doesn't really care. Then we also look at reverse requirements. And I explained the Kano's model. I explained Kano's model amongst others. Then we also look at the role of stakeholders. Yes, how we can report to stakeholders, how we can engage them, identify them, develop a communication plan for them, and move on from there. So we are done with how many hours? 1 hour, 30 minutes. Wow, for summarizing. Okay, now you are going to answer the questions. And we are going to do this, I think, in 30 minutes. All right, so may I have one of you read the questions for me, or I should this time I'm not going to talk or you talk. Okay, so I want one sweet voice. Your voices are all sweet. I just want one of you to read the question for us. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Christian.
Oh, we are
Uh-huh.
here.
Okay. Okay. So Please, which of you would want to eat?
Oh, where's my glasses? Oh, give it to me.
Mm.
Thank you.
Irene, hey, is Irene there?
Please, I'm here.
Uh-huh. Oh, Irene, then Irene, read for us. So that Rosalie and the others can rest more.
So, question one,
Mm-hmm.
drag and drop the words into the blank spaces to match the definitions.
Okay,
And contract renewal on exactly the same price on the same product. Product
okay.
being sourced for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Service sourced from a new supplier with added value.
Okay,
Possible answers are new purchase, straight rebuy, modified rebuy.
okay. So how did you match them? So the first
Contract
one is contract renewal on exactly the same product. Is it new purchase, straight rebuy, or modified rebuy?
I think it's a straight rebuy.
Yes, it's straight rebuy.
Modified.
Hey,
Okay.
sorry.
Uh, that would be straight rebuy for the same product. Contract renewal on exactly the same product.
Mm.
We are only placing orders for the same product.
So is it
Okay.
not straight rebuy?
Yeah,
Yes,
straight.
it's straight,
Uh-huh.
straight rebuy. Then the next is product being sourced for the first time.
New purchase.
So the third one is sorted. Sometimes you may not even have an idea of the last one, but once you're able to get the first two correct, you are confident that they are correct. The third one caters for itself. Okay. So service source from a new supplier with added value. That's modified rebuy. Remember I said that modified rebuy is not just changes in the specification. It could also be change of supplier. It could be changed in the pricing terms and payment terms in the contract. So in the exams, you may even see uh, changes in terms and conditions, and not change changing a new supplier or sourcing from a new supplier. If you see that also, it's still modified rebuy. Terms and conditions change or changing, prices changing, specification changing. Question two.
Which of the following can provide procurement professionals with macro environmental information? Choose three correct answers.
So when you talk
Possible
about
answers.
macro
One.
environmental, okay. So go ahead.
Oh, oh no, I'm done. Oh,
Okay. So when we talk about macro environmental information, um, there is micro and macro. Micro is within the industry. It is when you are using the competitive forces, forces by forces. It's for the micro environment. That is where you look at the bargaining power of buyers, bargaining power of suppliers, just from new entrants, competitive rivalry and trust attitude. That's for micro or the immediate environment. When we talk about macro, then we are looking at people. We are looking at the social-cultural environment. We are looking at the economic environment. We are looking at economic factors. We are looking at political factors. We are looking at environmental factors. We are looking at ethical issues and even legal issues. Okay, so um, economic. Here, which of the following can provide procurement professionals with macro environmental information? The first, we have stock exchange, current media reports, company handbook, codes of ethics, suppliers financial reports, trade publications. We have to choose three correct answers. and you are all going to choose one. So one each.
Stock exchange.
Stock exchange, perfect. So that deals with the economic aspect. Stock exchange. Okay. Who else? Okay, we have two more. Oh, please feel free and choose. If it's not correct, we'll correct it. This one,
Christian,
this not the
trade publications.
yes, trade publications. Trade publications in general, not limiting itself to just one organization. The trade publication is correct. Uh-huh. Then
Current
what else?
media report.
Current media
Yeah.
report. So the Economic Times. Yes, it deals with macro environment. Uh-huh. Company and code of ethics. These two are internal for the internal environment. Your own hand, then your own code of ethics. It doesn't. Then even suppliers financial report. That is in the micro environment. That's where we have our supply micro. Okay, you look at the suppliers bargaining power. That is where we have our supply. So these three are out. So stock exchange, current media reports, and trade publications. Okay, question three. Question three.
The main purpose of benchmarking is choose one
Okay.
correct answer to complete the sentence.
Okay. So the main purpose of benchmarking is okay. So benchmarking here is in the limited sense. If you read the option to discover the best prices and services available, to force a supplier to use their prices, to disclose another supplier what price the supplier has to be. If you have to choose one best answer, which one do you go for?
I think it's A.
To discover best prices and service
Prices and
available.
services available.
Yes, 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 you're right. So we are comparing prices. We want to know, compare supplier A's price to supplier B to supplier C and know the best prices and services available. Okay, you're right. Then question 4.
Look at the equation below. Choose one correct answer to complete the formula. Actual
So actual,
result is budgeted result.
okay, so what did you get?
Variance.
You get variance. That's all.
Okay.
So actual minus budgeted. And the variance can be positive. Okay, so question 5.
Fill in the blank spaces.
Mm-hmm.
The procurement manager of a sweet factory is analyzing the company's expenditure. She
Mm-hmm.
makes a list of all the costs involved in production. Sugar
Mm-hmm.
is cost. So
Mm-hmm.
are flavoring agents. Packaging of
Okay.
the sweet is an The
Mm-hmm.
rental of the factory and the salaries of staff are
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Christian, can you please enlarge it from your end a bit for me?
Okay. Okay. Is it better?
Okay. Yes, please. Thank you.
All right. So um, sugar is dash cost. Please, is it better?
Direct.
Okay. Sugar is
Yes, Christian, it is. Thank you.
you're welcome. Sugar is a direct cost. So are flavoring agents. Okay. So those ones are part of the final.
Mm,
Okay. What about packaging of the sweet?
Indirect.
packaging. Yes, they are indirect, even though they are part of the final product. It counts with just the final product, but they are not part of the. It's not part of the main product. Like I was using phone as an example. Yeah, the components in the phone are direct cost to the organization. Huh. Packaging is indirect because it cannot be found in the main uh, product. You can't find it in the phone that you are using. The packaging that it came with, you've thrown it somewhere. The, then we can look at the next one. The rental of the factory and the salaries of staff are
Be fixed.
Fixed cost.
yes, they are fixed cost. Okay. All right. So let's take the next one. Okay. Enlarging this one. Okay. You just read. I'll be shifting it.
Should
Sorry.
I read?
Yes, please.
Okay. Rita was proud of the business plan that she had created in preparation for a meeting with her procurement director. In the plan, she had created a budget based on last year's usage with the sales department predicted annual increases. One
Okay.
of the
So pause.
okay.
Please pause. Let me ask the question here. What type of budget is this? So in the plan,
Last
she has
year will be
created
incremental.
yes, based on last year's budget. So that will be incremental budget.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you can proceed now.
One of the organization's long-term objectives was to operate in a profitable manner and ensure that the stakeholders got a good return on their investment. Rita was
Okay.
confident that should I pause? Should I pause?
Yes, please pause. So what type of objective is Rita's business plan aligned with? So one of the organization's long-term objectives was to operate in a profitable manner and ensure that the stakeholders got a good return on their investment. Question 7. What type of objective is Rita's business plan aligned with? Is it strategic, operational, or tactical?
Strategic because it's a long-term objective.
Since it's a long-term objective, it is strategic. It's strategic. Okay, so you can proceed.
Rita was confident that her business plan was aligned to this. Rita had also put a section in the business plan which clearly demonstrated the amount the procurement project will cost against what positive aspects it will generate.
So
The
in a
ratio
business case, which element is the cost against what positive aspects it will generate? There is an element of a business case that deals with this. It is something analysis.
So it's cost benefits.
Cost and
Cost
benefit.
exactly. Cost and benefits. So here you see is instead of them bringing the benefit, they said what positive aspect it will generate. They won't bring benefit. Okay. So you can proceed.
The ratio she calculated against this area of the plan showed a figure of 1.76.
Okay. So this is where you need to notice there is a ratio for cost and benefit analysis. Please, I think this is better. Please, is it clearer? Now yeah.
Yes, please,
So
then it's fine.
the, it's fine. Okay. Uh, so I'm using the landscape. Okay. So the ratio she calculated against this area of the plan showed a figure of 1.76. Now, if you do a cost and benefit ratio and you get 1.0, anything above 1.0, it means that the project is worth pursuing. Okay.
Viable.
So 1 point, yes, or is viable. So 1.76 means that for every $1 that is invested, a return of $1.76 will be generated. A return of $1.76 will be generated. Even that is why anything more than 1.7 is viable. So if you can get 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, it means yes, the return is good. So you want to go for it. So currently take note that any ratio for cost and benefit, which is above 1.0, is viable. Okay. So let's take note. Um, okay, so that's question 19.
9.
So question 9 says, what does the figure of 1.76 suggest in relation to the analysis? Choose the best option. So that lots more research should be carried out prior to being able to get feedback on the numerical analysis. That the project should go ahead, that the project should not go ahead. Your guess is as good as mine. The project should go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes. Okay, so question 10. So I can go ahead.
Drag and drop the sectors to match them with the correct industry. Construction, financial, agriculture,
Mhm.
tertiary, primary, secondary.
Okay. So you can match them. This one is the first
Construction.
question.
Construction is secondary.
Okay, construction is secondary. We are converting raw materials into finished goods. We are using cement and sand and all that to construct a bridge or a building. Yes, so that's secondary transformation. Then financial becomes what?
Tertiary.
Tertiary, and agriculture is primary. Okay. Now we are going to drag and drop the scenarios into the correct dimension. Okay, so you can continue, Irene.
Drag and drop the scenarios into the correct dimensions.
Mhm.
Affluent markets attract new suppliers, which will reduce profits. Threat of new entrants. A monopoly
Okay,
situation is this. Customers have no
okay,
control over prices.
okay,
Customers are
okay. So,
sparse.
mhm.
Please go
Continue,
on.
please.
Okay, customers are sparse, so they can push hard for the best price.
Okay. So here we
Bye.
have. Let me um, augment it. Okay. So we are looking at the fourth one is a new product similar to an existing brand is released into the market. Okay. So the, the first one has been answered.
Yeah.
Do you know that? Good.
Yes.
So the answer, the last three, the last three. So We are using the Potter's five forces: the threat of new entrants, bargaining power of buyers, threat of substitutes, bargaining power of suppliers. Okay, so let me go back. So ignore the first one. Let's look at the second one. The first one is threat of new entrants. Affluent markets attract new supplies, which could reduce profit. We are attracting new supplies. So that's a threat of new entrants. Then the second is a monopoly situation exists, and the customers have no control over prices. What would that be? Is this
Bargaining power
competitive?
of supplier or
Good. The bargaining power of so the bargaining power of supplier or supplier power. Then customers are fast, so they can push hard for the best price.
what's bargaining power of
Bargaining
buyer?
power of buyers.
Yes, bargaining power of price. Then move to the last one. The last one is a new product similar to an existing brand is released into the market.
Threat of new substitute.
Yes, threat of substitutes. Okay. Now let's look at question 12. Oh,
If a buyer saves money against a budget, this is known as
okay. So this is known as what? If a buyer saves money against a budget.
Positive
Yes, it's
variance.
positive. Yes, the positive. Then question 13.
if a supplier is a monopoly, which party in the negotiation has the most strength? The supplier.
Okay, the supplier. Good. So we just look at supplier by power. Okay. Question 14.
Which of the following are useful when preparing a purchasing budget? Choose 5.
Okay. So which of the following are useful when preparing a purchasing budget? Choose 5. Okay, so let's choose. Let's start choosing.
Past purchase price.
Yes, past purchase price is one.
Market information.
You also need market information.
Supplier information.
Previous sales figures.
Yes, you need that also.
Information.
Do you need your competitors' cost? You have to understand your competitors' cost.
No.
Okay. Then the next is predicted volume. So the odd one out is competitors or competition's cost. This one is even not competitors' cost, it's competition's cost. So it doesn't make sense. Okay, so A, B, D, and F. Okay. Now let's move to the next question. Question 15.
Gathering data can provide information on cost. True or false? True or false?
Is it true or false?
True.
True.
It's true. Question 16.
Porter's 5 forces evaluate supplier positioning.
True or false?
True or false? No, I don't think
So
so.
False.
yeah, false. When you hear supplier positioning, it's strategic metrics. Okay. So we want to know if the supplier is a strategic supplier, bottleneck supplier, a leverage supplier, or a key supplier, and it has nothing to do with Porter's 5 forces. So it's false. Okay. All variances are bad. True or false?
False.
False.
Okay, because we have positive and negative variance. Okay, question 18. Procurement is a key element of efficient manufacturing. True or false?
True.
True. Question 19. Budgets are not used in procurement.
False.
False. Yes. We have purchasing budget. We just consider that. The difference in a budget against actual spend is a variance, true or false. This one, they are bonus questions also. You may not get them like this in the exam. So. Okay. Question 21. Having relevant data can aid negotiation, true or false.
True.
True. Good. Question 22. Direct costs are more important in direct costs. True. We are saying that direct cost is false. Okay. In a negotiation, the buyer or supplier can have the power.
True.
True or false?
True.
It's true. Yeah, the buyer or the supplier can have the power. Budgets should not be monitored. True or false?
False.
False. We need to monitor budgets. So, Irene, I took it from you because the questions were so straightforward and short. Now you are back to your position. So you can read for us.
That's fine. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yes, I always want the easy out. Okay. So let's go. So we have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 options. Competition, rejected, conformance, supplier, performance, certification, and risk. Okay. So Irene, please go ahead. Question 25.
Yes. Question 25. Dodo specification consists of recipes,
Yeah.
chemical formula, or engineering drawings.
Okay, so answer the question.
Places a
What is that?
Conformance.
That's
Conformance.
conformance definition. Good. Okay, proceed.
It places the majority of the dodo with the buyer.
Risk.
The majority
Risk.
of the risk of non-performance is the buyer.
Dodo specification describes the outcome or what the item needs to do, but not how that should be achieved.
Okay,
Performance.
Performance is
That-
true.
okay.
Performance.
Mhm.
This type of specification carries more risks for the supplier.
Mm.
Yes, more risk for the supplier and not the buyer. Okay.
It promotes dodo within the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. So what does
Competition.
it promote? Competition. So you're able to get value for money.
Competition.
Instead of saying you want an HP laptop, you say you want a laptop that can do A, B, and C. You get all the brands bid. So it promotes competition within the marketplace. Okay. And you get value for money. All right. Let's proceed.
If products do not conform to they are likely to be when received in the buying organization.
Okay. So you can show
Specification.
them
Specification.
Rejected.
so if they don't conform to the specification, they are likely to be rejected. Okay. So we can move to question 20.
Which of the following can be used to provide an accurate procurement specification? Choose 4 answers.
Okay. We can choose the
Drawings, samples,
Mhm.
recipes,
Mhm.
Similar product.
Mhm.
Drawing sample recipes. Similar products.
I think engineering tolerance and
Yes, engineering tolerance.
yeah.
Engineering tolerance. Yes. Yeah, all that. So tolerances are also part of it. Similar product samples from a competitor. Already chosen sample. You don't need a sample from a competitor when you are developing a procurement specification. That's why we already have samples. So drawings, samples, outdated descriptions, no, because your specification should be up to date. It shouldn't be outdated. Recipe, correct. Engineering tolerance. Engineering tolerance. Okay. Then we can move to the next question. Yes, question 87.
Okay. Complete the sentence by filling in the blank spaces with the correct words.
Yes.
If a product is underspecified, the buying organization is exposed to dot dot dot. This is because the
Okay.
product may not be made to the required specification.
Specification.
Okay. Okay. So if a product is underspecified, the buying organization is exposed to what?
Risk.
Risk. Or
Yes.
yes, it's exposed to risk. Then this is because the product may not be made to the required what standard. Okay.
Okay.
The required standard. Then someone can also choose specification to the required specification. But if your specification is underspecified, it doesn't meet standard. It doesn't. Uh, so question 28.
Complete the sentence by filling in the blank spaces with the correct words. Dot 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 occurs when developing a new product, whereas dot 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 occurs when trying to reduce costs from an existing product.
Okay, so that's why you have no options. What are we talking
Yeah.
about?
Value engineering and
And
value
value
analysis.
analysis.
Good. So which one is the value engineer? Is it
For the new product, value engineering.
for new product value engineering? Okay. Then for existing product value analysis. Correct. Okay, so let's move to question 29.
Drag and drop the event into the correct order to create a specification. Start with the
Mhm.
first at the top.
Okay, so in creating a specification, what is the first thing we need to do?
Research and gather
Research.
information.
Okay, we research and gather information. Then we do what?
Collect the information. Hey, no,
Okay.
No.
no.
Okay.
No.
Consult experts.
Consult
Oh,
Yeah, we need to consult experts, confirm the facts. Okay. Then we do what?
Collect the information. No.
Good. It's all the information
information.
to produce a specification document. Okay. So after producing the specification document, what do we have?
And you have it checked.
We have the specification checked by a product expert before we do what?
and send it to the supplier.
Send to the supplier.
Okay, I hope it makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So question 30.
A.
Problem or what? What are the different types of specifications? Choose one
Okay.
correct answer.
Performance and performance.
Performance and performance.
Okay. So you see, in the book, the last chapter, they didn't make it so clear about differences. They started with sample, So if you don't
Yeah,
know
the
that
technical one.
technical one, if you don't know that they are all conformance, you may be confused. Sometimes
But
they will even
Christian, even in the book, they stated 3 types of specifications.
correct. You see,
Mm. It's so confusing. Please, can I proceed?
hello, Irene.
Hi.
Okay, you can please proceed.
Okay. To ensure conformance with placing purchase orders, specification should be choose one.
Okay.
Reference.
So to ensure conformance when placing purchase orders, specification should be okay. One.
Reference.
So it should be reference. Okay. Question 32.
Excess cost occurs if products or services are choose one.
D,
Overspecified.
overspecified.
It's over incur more cost. Okay. Question 33.
Scope, definition, description, testing and
Mm-hmm.
change control, and social
Mm-hmm.
and environmental criteria are features of specification relating to what type of contract. Choose one
Okay.
correct answer.
Okay. Is it short, live, retail, or service? This deals with learning outcomes in 3.1.
Yeah.
Yes. And next one is true live contract. So it is live contract. Live. Okay. So question 34.
Sometimes something tangible that represents clearly the type of goods that the buyer requires from the supplier is referred to as what?
Okay. If it is tangible and represents
Sample.
clearly the type of goods, what is it?
Sample.
A sample.
It's a sample. So question 35.
For a manufacturing organization, which of the following would create a direct cost?
Okay. The direct cost.
Component.
Yes, components. 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 Okay. Question 36.
An output certification focuses mostly on performance.
Okay. So output specification focuses mostly on what?
Performance.
Yes, it focuses on performance.
Performance.
Yes. Because an output-based specification is an example of performance specification. Remember, we have three: output-based, outcome-based, statements of work. Okay. So question 37.
Which of the following are commonly used in conjunction with an output focused certification?
Okay. So product brand names. Is it correct?
Yes.
Product brand names and the output focus specification. Brand names are examples of conformance. So we can rule that out. Okay, then we can look at technical requirements. Detailed technical requirements. Is it an output focus specification or conformance? Yes, detailed technical requirements are conformance. Then B, you have clear conformance standards, which is also conformance. So it leaves us with the last option, which is key performance indicators. So KPIs. Okay. Then question 38.
The procurement organization is keen to maximize innovation available within a supply market in the execution of an upcoming significant contract opportunity. Which of the following will enable the organization to achieve this goal?
Okay. Your voice wasn't loud enough, but we
Oh,
heard what
let
you
me
said.
read again. A
Okay.
procurement organization is keen to maximize innovation available within the supply market in the execution of an upcoming significant contract opportunity. Which of the following will enable the organization to achieve this goal?
Okay. So
I think it's A. Using an outcome focused.
okay, using an outcome focused specification. Okay. Yes, that's the correct answer. Using an outcome focused specification. Because we want to ensure or maximize innovation. You can't maximize innovation in conformance specification. No. Conformance specification stifles innovation. And B, you have applying a precise performance framework. C, establishing transparent selection criteria, using out, allowing variations to occur out. Okay, so that is using an outcome focused specification. It drives innovation or maximizes innovation. Then question 39.
A procurement manager is inputting into a specification for a new product. They have already assessed the availability of suppliers and their relative market influence and have
Okay, so pause.
determined
They have already assessed the availability of suppliers. One, and their relative market influence. and have determined that the sources of supply are plentiful. Okay, please proceed.
What other factor will be important to consider in respect of competitive market forces?
Okay, so the first is that they have already assessed the availability of supply. Which aspect of or which of the Potter's five forces deals with that? Availability of supply.
Bargaining power of the
Yes,
supply.
the bargaining power of the supply or strength of the supply, and their relative market influence. Okay, and determines the sources of supply are plentiful. Now, what other factor will be important to consider in respect of competitive market force? Because we already know that the source of supply are plentiful, so we know the competitive rivalry. The competitive rivalry, we know that the competition is high. When there are many suppliers in the market, the competition is high, so we know. So which one left with?
Power of the buyer.
Oh, buyer.
Yes, power of buy or buy. So we need to know our power. The power we built at buy. The next question.
Zam Manufacturing Group has a non-complex range of components which are readily available for an extensive range of suppliers. The manufacturing
Mm-hmm.
process is simple and highly
So one for
efficient.
you, one for car. Go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, so
Yes.
sorry.
Mm.
Zam's profit margins are high. The
Mm-hmm.
Zam CPO's main concern is a vast array of products it both buys and manufactures. Which of the
Mm-hmm.
following should be a priority action for Zam?
Okay. So Zan has a problem, or Zam has a problem. Its main concern is the vast array of products it both buys and manufactures. Which of the following should be a priority action for Zam? What should Zam do?
Value analysis.
Value analysis would help them reduce their cost. Value engineering will help them reduce their cost. But here, their concern really is not about the cost, but it's about the vast array of products.
So standardization.
Perfect. So
Mm,
they will have to implement
implement
standardization.
standardization.
They will have to implement standardization. It's also called variety reduction. They will want to reduce variety by implementing standardization. Okay, question 41.
Which of the following are common barriers to entry that can affect competition in a market?
Okay, in a market. So here you would realize that if you look at it in the options, you need only two options. So which one are we going for? So common barriers to entry.
If the setup cost is high, it's a barrier.
So setup cost is high. So 1 and what? 1 and 2, 1 and 3.
Direct labor costs.
Okay. So 1
Mm,
and 2 direct labor cost. If the direct labor cost is high. And it's very easier to ascertain the direct labor cost at the time you're entering the market. Sometimes not easy.
customer
Yes.
switching cost.
So, customer switching cost. That one there is out cry.
Financial
That
holding
one
cost.
is out. That one is out. Okay. So that is
There's one and two.
1.
And
Yes. 1 and 2. Right? Okay. Okay. So um, I've confused you. Okay. This one and two. Okay. So customer switching cost. Uh, if customer switching cost is high, if you know that customer switching cost is uh, high, it is unlikely that customers will buy your product.
Mhm.
It is called customer loyalty. If customers are loyal to a brand, they are unlikely to switch to the one that you are introducing.
Mhm.
To them, it's sad. We want to switch from their existing supplier to yours, and that could be a barrier. Direct cost, labor cost may not even be a barrier. Yeah,
Mm.
but if yeah,
Because if
customer
my cost is similar to setup costs, so when you're setting up a business, you look at your components, you look at what you need to start. So if your labor
good.
cost is so high, then it's a barrier to entering into that kind of industry because then my cost will be high and then it will eat into any kind of profit that I may get. So
That's good. I
the
get
three,
you. So the setup cost absorbs the direct cost of labor.
Yeah,
Yes.
it
okay.
falls
Get
under
it?
it.
Yeah, it absorbs that. Okay. Then we can look at the. So if you choose the two, uh, you'll be wrong. Once you choose setup cost, it absorbs the second.
Mm.
Then the last
The
one,
customer
which is
success.
customer switching cost. That is
Inventory holding cost.
inventory holding cost. Uh, no, really, no.
Okay.
Inventory holding cost will not come in here. Uh, But what
So it's one and
really
two.
the common barrier,
Mm.
most of the barriers are customer loyalty. And yeah, they didn't bring customer loyalty, customer switching cost. So if you are switching, the customer's switching cost is high, or the customer finds it difficult switching from a particular brand to yours, it becomes a barrier. That is why most products come into the market, but customers don't buy.
Mm.
They don't buy because they are loyal to the existing brand. They won't switch. They won't be switch. Even if the price is low, some of them will still be loyal to the existing brand. And that becomes a barrier. You've entered the market, but you haven't entered because you can't compete. Your brand can't compete. Okay, so
So
setup
Christian, the
cost.
answer is 1 and 3.
One and
Yes,
three.
yes, yes. One and three. One and three. One and three. And even the setup cost, your inventory holding, it also absorbs inventory holding. It also
Okay.
absorbs it because you have to hold some amount of inventory. Okay. Then question 42. Question 42. Uh,
An
I think that's about.
organization has a
Oh, sorry.
an
Please go
organization
ahead.
has a clear idea from the service they want and has described the process precisely in terms of how the supplier must deliver it. It is
Okay.
intending to produce an report.
An outcome
It is
focused
intended to
education.
produce an outcome-focused certification. Is this the right
Mm-hmm.
certification approach for the organization to use?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So it has a very clear idea of the service it wants and has described the process precisely in terms of how the supplier must deliver it. And here we are talking about outcome focused certification. It's low because that's a conformance based certification.
Mm.
Okay, so if it is low, Then we have two options, A and B, right? So why? Why no? A says no. With an outcome-focused specification approach, the supplier will decide how to deliver the service.
No.
And B, no. The best approach would be an open specification. There's nothing like open specification.
Yeah, so it's A.
It's A. So with outcome-focused specification approach, the supplier decides how to deliver the service and not you the buyer. Okay, so let's move to the next question. Question 43.
Which of the following are typical environmental considerations throughout the contract life cycle? Select two that apply.
Okay. Which of the following are typical environmental considerations? Okay, throughout the contract life cycle. So we are selecting two that apply. A and B.
Yeah, energy usage, recycle, packaging.
Okay. Energy usage, manufacturing, recycle, label, packaging. Yes. These deal with the environmental. If they had said environmental and social, then the last one, which is standard of
Yeah.
expectation. But okay. All right. So question 44.
Which of the following are typically found within conformance certification? Select two that apply.
Okay. So here we still have only two. We have only two. You can see.
Drawing, conformance, drawings, samples.
Yes, drawings and samples. Okay. Question 45.
Drag and drop the correct answers into the blank spaces. To complete this activity about budgeting methods,
Okay. So the first one.
let's start by taking last year's budget and adding on 4% for increased costs and inflation.
Okay. So which type of budget? Incremental. This time you are not looking at the options. So let's look at the next one.
Let's start with a blank sheet of paper and then justify each item we add into the new budget. Zero
So
base.
what type of
Zero.
budget? That's perfect. Zero piece budget. Okay.
Let's start by looking at all of the inputs we will require as a business to achieve our objectives. Activity based.
Okay. That's
Activity.
activity based.
Now we know last month's actuals. Let's have dates, numbers for the next 12 months.
Rolling.
Okay. That's rolling back. Okay. So this shows that you understand the types of budget. And that ends our review for today. Okay, I hope we've learned something. Pardon?
Are we meeting next week?
No,
Oh,
this is
no.
our last meeting.
This our last.
This is our last
Na-
meeting
na-
for business needs.
Sib. Okay.
Tomorrow we are meeting for
Sib.
supply relationship.
Okay. Now, Christian, Sibs, don't they give areas? Areas of study.
Hey.
Area. Just a little something.
It's not.
The way you said hair.
Just a little laughing. You don't get areas. These are the areas. Give you the areas.
It's a humble question. Maybe they do.
By the question and the answer, there are two things. The person who asked the question is just like me. I'm sure this is your first paper. And then the
Yeah.
person who said hair is the he has written us.
Yeah, I can see. This is my first, and I'm so nervous. I don't
Oh, you'll be okay.
Told you, you see, the experts.
Hmm. You'll be okay.
So
just
you fine.
endorse.
I've not started the book, oh, but I know I'll be okay. You'll be fine.
You see, that is why
What
we did
happened to you?
take you through the whole book, okay, for about 1 hour, 30 minutes, so that you
Mm,
can understand what the book entails. So with this understanding, right, you should be able to pass.
yes.
When you sit down and go through the book and answer the questions, you should be able to pass the paper. They can't swerve you. You know your specifications. You know that you need to gather market data when developing specifications. You know what goes into true life specifications. You know your budget. You know what a business need is. You know business cases. You know the elements of a business case. You should be fine. You know what value engineering is, what analysis is. You know standardization, part standardization, process standardization. You know product standardization. You know these ones. At least if I ask you now, you can tell me something. You can tell me something. Okay. So once you sit down and go through the book and go through the questions again, listen to the audio, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You have no reason to feel this.
Okay. Rosemary, you've taken the paper before.
No, I'm just like you.
The other one is Joycelyn.
Yeah.
You've taken a paper before.
Mm.
But why? Please,
Oh,
I need a pep talk. Like,
sure.
when I'm even learning, then I'm scared.
Yes, yes. Call your
Christian,
call.
I'll call it.
It's-
Christian,
eh,
if there was
Call
a more feedback. We book no
Why?
no. The book is
sure.
so big.
Learn
And
everything back to back.
I
You'll be fine.
I
You'll
know.
be
And
fine. And read. You see,
every tab,
the trick is you might read the whole book, but if you go and you don't read the question very well before choosing an answer,
Yeah.
you deviate. Yes.
Okay.
So you need to just read the question well and be watching the time because there's no time. You'll be fine.
And those
Fine. Those ones that
every stab has a stab. Stab. Christian. So
just understand what the. So when I ask you what's the business case, you know what it is. You don't need to refer to the learning outcome. You should know what is in the book. Okay. And when you go to the exam hall and you don't have an immediate answer to a particular question, flag it if you can.
Skip.
Move on. After everything, you come back to it and think about it. Don't waste your time thinking about it. No. Yes. And this time you are even fortunate to have the objective response. At time it's written.
I was told there was no
yes. There was no before questions. Answer all. There was nothing like choose 2 out of 3, out of 5.
And
or
now
out of
there's
4.
choose.
Answer all. Now it's still answer all for the constructed response. Yeah, you answer all the questions.
Because I was watching the video and it said answer all questions.
Yes, you answer all.
Joycelyn,
It's limited the construction.
That's it.
Oh, friend, no.
Christian, we'll be answering 100 questions. So how many questions are we answering? 100?
60.
Oh, that's
60.
yes. So 60. Sometimes it depends on the 60 questions. You go to level 5, level 6, the number of questions change.
I think the number of questions will reduce, but at the end of the day, when you count, when you see it, sometimes they'll give you multiple answers, dash. When you count, it's still 60.
Wow.
It's still 60.
And you need to get 70 to pass. for objective response, you need to get 70 to pass. But for the written, the constructed, you need to get 50% to pass. And I learned this time you are going to start. So you better start improving on your typing skills.
Wait, Christian,
The
okay,
written.
we need 70 for the overall to pass. And
Yes,
is
70. So the
overall.
objective response you are going to write for L4M2, you need to score 70 to pass. You get 69 first.
That one there to be get.
And there are situations where some get 68%, 68. And when you
Like
get
when
it,
you
more
to
painful.
retain and then you are rejected.
Yeah.
Long.
So we should leave low stone on 10.
Okay.
Go in adequately prepared. It's not easy and it's not too difficult, or it's not impossible. Yes, it's possible.
This thing, it is difficult. Just
Yes, they are not telling us the truth. Oh.
it is difficult. See,
So,
Christian, if I didn't write, if my first papers were not written papers, I would have failed all my objective papers because my first papers were too written. So now I even learned the objectives like written papers. So I always learn, make notes, make notes. Then at the end of the day, I read my notes that I've made back to back. That is what is helping me pass the objectives. Because if I had started with just objectives, I might just read the book without no notes, no. But if you do that, Charlie, you pass. You have to learn the book well, back to back.
Now I note.
It's not easy.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I've also done.
It's not easy, but it's not also impossible.
Oh, yeah. We have been passing, so you pass that one.
Possible. She's saying it as being too difficult and impossible. No. It's not
no. Not so difficult.
It's not so You see, but it's not easy. Also easy. So let's manage.
Just and I'll call you next row so that you guide me. Like we have a few days.
Guide you what? Me read the book, no. Me read the book, no.
Because you say why a master.
No, but I think I understand Jocelyn because you see, for the business there are some aspects in the supply relationship. And so for someone like who has written a couple, she has ideas from each of the models she's led. So she's not like fresh like myself. And then
exactly.
So if she says she hasn't read the book by now, I trust her and I know she hasn't, but she has an idea of
what the book is.
What the book is saying and all that. So, but you please, I'll sit by you.
If by this time you haven't read the book, and then it is away a master because I cut a few days.
No, I was reading the M6. I finished the M6. So this book has not touched it. That is why.
That is why the reviews also. Okay. So if I ask you right now that should we take out the review?
No.
Pardon, Chris, please come again.
Should we take out the review in subsequent models?
Should we take out
don't take a review.
The review.
Why will we take it out?
No.
So I'm only asking. Why?
Because we need it. Hey, why?
Why? Just give me a reason to have this session again for subsequent models.
Oh, to be very honest, I think in our previous 2 sessions or so, when you start, I think I had started with both chapter 1 of each. And then when you said that we need to master chapter 3, come back to chapter 1 before chapter 2, then I realized that, okay, so there's a way I have to, instead of moving to chapter 2, to be very honest, I haven't led chapter 2 in both. I moved straight to chapter 3.
Chapter 3, yeah.
So I intend to do chapter 2 this week. and then at least I'll have a
Okay.
complete set of it. And then when you sent the questions and I read through, I'm like, okay, so this is how I actually need to learn it, just so I understand. So the question gives you an idea that you are learning, all right, but for people like us who haven't written it before, don't have the idea how it looks like, the questions help us understand that you are not just supposed to learn partnership. You are supposed to understand it and what goes, and even some of them have the names of the people who have formulated the formula and all that. But some of us, we just read it in 5 forces, but maybe you don't think that quarters is necessary. They will ask you, but in the what I think in the supply relationship, they asked one who actually wrote that thing. So it gives an idea how much or the extent you are supposed to read and understand, not just read it as because it's an OR, I just going to read it. So this session helps. So for me, first timer, yes.
Yeah.
At least it's calmed me down a bit. I think when I had a talk with you, was Steve, I told him that this one is, I've written exam, but this one is putting me somewhere. But I think with the question and then the revision today, it's calming me down a bit and preparing for.
Okay. And that is the aim. That's the aim. As for the review, we can't take it out. I only wanted to know how beneficial it is to you. Okay. All right. So we'll meet tomorrow. Okay, we'll meet tomorrow for some.
Kristen, are we starting at 1 tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's start at 1 tomorrow. Or let's make it 2.
Because you said this was.
Yeah, so let's make it 2.
Okay.
That you can have enough rest before we start.
Okay. All right, Christian. Thank you.
Enjoy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
So you get the recording, okay?
Okay.
All right.